Hey everybody, Adam here, Sub Wizard Podcast. You are about to listen to an interview I did with Brandon Rhiness. Brandon is a writer, director, producer, creator. This guy really does everything and he is prolific. This guy works hard. I mean, just check out his IMDB page. Talking to him was a real treat. It's always inspiring to talk to a creative person such as this who just does the work, puts in the time, and gets it done. His latest movie, Hot Box, can be found on Amazon Prime and soon to be on many more streaming platforms, and it's in multiple countries. If I remember right, it says something like 60 countries, so definitely check that out. It's a stoner comedy that kind of coincided accidentally with the legalization of weed in Canada. But Brandon's got a ton of projects. Check him out. It's a great interview. Thanks. All right. Hey, everybody. It's Adam here with So Wizard, and I am talking to Brandon Rhiness, who is a writer, creator, director. How you doing, Brandon?
I'm doing very good. Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. I know this got a little bit delayed with the whole Corona thing in the world going crazy, but I'm glad we found time to do it.
Yeah.
We do have a current project, Hot Box, your newest movie to talk about. But before we get there, I kind of wanted to start at the beginning of your creative journey. What was your first, maybe not your first memory, but your first introduction to like, this is what I want to do?
Like I'd been writing ever since I was able to hold a pencil. Basically, I'd write stories and stuff. But it was in elementary school in grade 4. I had this dream that I got kidnapped and I had to escape from these kidnappers. And I woke up and I was like, oh, that'd make a cool story. So I wrote the story. And my English teacher the next day in school let me read it to the class. And when I was done, everyone, like the class just erupted in applause. And I was kind of, Mr. Popular for the rest of the day. And that was kind of when something clicked. And I was like, oh, people seem to like the stories that I write. So kind of from that day forward, there was never any other career path that I really considered. And it wasn't until, high school. And I watched Quentin Tarantino's Reservoir Dogs and Leon the Professional. I watched those two movies in one night, and then something clicked in my head, and I was like, "Yeah, I should make movies because I love this." And so I started borrowing video equipment from the local cable TV station in my small town, and I go out with friends, and we make these really crappy short films. I basically learned from like I knew basically nothing, and at first it was shooting on VHS cameras, so we would edit as we were shooting. We'd record a take. If it didn't work, we would just rewind in the camera and redo it. So basically, we were editing the movie as we went, and not the best way to do it.
Right.
And then soon I learned like, oh, you can edit by, there's like an editing machine, and you can edit from like one tape to another. And so I taught myself how to do that. And then it wasn't long before digital editing came out, and that kind of made it easier. And I honestly, it was never really like it was the only thing I wanted to do, but I could never figure out how to make money at it. And quite frankly, I wasn't trying very hard. I just thought it was kind of something fun to do on the side. And I always had some other, day job to keep me going. And it wasn't until, maybe around 2013 to 2015, kind of that area, where I decided, what if I just put all my effort into making this happen? I wonder if I could actually do it. And I'd always been into comic books and writing comics and stuff. And I figured that was cheaper than movies. So I started writing and publishing comic books, and we started selling them and reinvesting the money we made, and it started to gain some popularity. And by this time, I hadn't written a screenplay in probably 7 or 8 years, and I was like, well, things are going really well with the comics. Maybe I could try doing the screenwriting again. So I started screenwriting again, and I just started writing like nonstop, just cranking out short films, features, and everything. And I started getting pretty damn good at it. And before I knew it, people started paying me for scripts, to the point where it was almost as much as I was making in my day job. And then I decided, well, I could take it a step further and start making films again. And so I started, meeting people, putting a crew together, raising money. A lot of it was my own money I was putting into it. And we just started making short films and that kind of thing. And then all of a sudden I got laid off from my day job. And I kind of decided, well, do I go and get another job I hate, or do I do this full time? And the money, especially even now, the money in being an indie screenwriter in Canada is not huge. So I was like, my plan was to take it month by month. If I run out of money, I can always get another job. and now it's been 4 years or something, and I'm still keeping it going, and it's kind of always a struggle, but I'm starting to get more noticed. I'm getting more screenwriting jobs, selling more scripts, getting more projects made. I started doing feature length movies instead of just shorts, and but yeah, that basically brings us up to this very day.
Oh, that's a pretty incredible path. That the fact that you just like, hey, I'm going to do this, and it worked, and then you're like, well, let's pivot to comic books, and then it worked, and it's just you usually hear a lot of stories about getting up, failing, trying again, failing, trying again, and I'm sure you had some of that, but it sounded like you had a pretty strong trajectory.
Yeah, and it basically came down to the work, like just working super hard at it, and if you put that amount of effort into anything, like it's bound to work to some degree. um I never really thought it's like if I write this many scripts, there's no way I cannot get better. I mean, if you write 100 short scripts and like 50 features, if you're not better than you were when you started doing it, then something's wrong.
Right, that's
um
not for you.
yeah, so I just think naturally, just writing so many scripts over the years, it just led to stuff being good enough for people to want to make. And I just I pitch at my scripts a lot. I'm always anyone who's willing to listen, I'll pitch my scripts to. And so I'm just it's nonstop hustle is what it takes. And people all the time ask me, like, every day I get questions about how do I get involved, how do I do it. And it's kind of like there's no secret to it. It's just a lot of hard work. You just got to invest money in yourself and invest time in yourself and get better at it. You can't skip to the end. If you've never written a screenplay before, the odds of you writing your first one and then selling it for big money in Hollywood is probably not going to happen. So I would just, my first scripts I would sell for just next to nothing. Basically grocery money and rent money. And but it was just enough that I started doing that, and then that would get me noticed because I started selling things, and then those producers would kind of go on to bigger projects that they'd hire me for, and I'd get more attention, and just kind of slowly work my way up the ladder. And I think a lot of, pretty much anyone that's willing to put in that effort can do what I've done. Like this, I'm I guess I got some talent, but I didn't, I don't have any, I didn't come from a family of Hollywood producers. None of my family or friends are involved in the industry, or at least when I started, they weren't. So yeah, like anyone that wants to follow in my footsteps, like it is possible. I'm kind of living proof of that.
Yeah, just do the work.
Mhm.
You said your small town. You're from Edmonton, right?
Yeah, I grew up in Wetaskiwin, which is a small town. Edmonton's a pretty big city, but yeah, that's where I'm based now.
Okay, that's where I was a little confused because I'm kind of under the impression that Edmonton has a fairly decent entertainment industry. I mean, it's not like a Hollywood, but it seems like a lot of projects happen around there.
I mean, there could always be more. I mean, we like Vancouver and Toronto are where the big stuff's happening in Canada, and we're kind of a few hours away from Calgary, and they kind of got more stuff going on than we do here. But there's stuff going on. I mean, they're always shooting big projects here. They'll come up from LA or wherever and shoot stuff here, and there's a lot of indie people doing stuff around this area. So I mean, we got a lot of talented people and everything. It just I mean, the coronavirus kind of killed everything
Oh, for
for
sure.
now, but it could always there could always be more, and I'm just glad that I could at least be a part of it, right? I'm at least I'm moving things forward, and hiring local people, and just trying to make it happen as best I can. So there's a lot of talented people here, and I hope that there's like much better days to come.
Did you find that being in that environment kind of helped maybe keep your fire going when you maybe hit a lull, or were you just like, I'm going to do this regardless?
Yeah, I'm just gonna do it regardless. Like even now when we're kind of on lockdown, it's like, well, I'm even busier now. I'm writing even more, and I'm getting things ready that the second we're allowed to go outside again, I'm gonna start shooting a new project. And I think a lot of people are thinking like that too. Um, and yeah, like even if I have no money, sometimes it's like like Hotbox took a bit of money to raise, and sometimes it's like, man, I don't have the energy to raise that kind of money again, but I want to shoot something right away. So I just figure, how do I shoot something on like just the amount of money that I have in my bank account right now? And that's kind of where I'm haunted. One of my projects was, it's, a found feature type thing. It's like, if I shoot the whole thing on a phone and a laptop, I don't really need a crew. And, so I did that project, and that got me a bunch of attention, which got me hired for other things. And um, so it's kind of like, if you have enough hustle, like you'll make it happen. If you're constantly waiting for someone else to, kind of give you permission, or if I mean, obviously money is a big thing, but you can find a way. I mean, people have a, video camera on their phone in their pocket. There's no reason that you can't just write a short thing and go out and film it with people, and, just whatever you can do to get it started, and, just one little step. And so yeah, that's kind of what I've been doing. And, no matter what the circumstances are, it's like I'll find a way to make it happen. If there's nothing much happening in my area, well, I can sell scripts to people in other countries. I got one I'm writing that's hopefully going into production later this winter in the UK. It's like I'll just any opportunity that I can, either that it comes my way or that I can create, I will take advantage of.
That's awesome. And I like that you brought up the technology and the just go get it attitude, because for anyone who's creative, you don't have a better time in history than now, between the ease of the technology, the affordability of the technology, and the massive amounts of distribution channels. Even just setting up your own free YouTube channel, you can get people to watch your stuff. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, like, technically you could write a script, film it, edit it, and post it on YouTube all on your phone. Like, so there's really, once you get to bigger things, you'd obviously like better camera, better sound and all that. But just to get started, you may as well just start filming stuff. Like, I didn't even have actors when I started. I just get a bunch of high school buddies, and, they're terrible actors for the most part, but I started just learning how to film things, how to cut shots together, and all the basics. And, I just made a whole bunch of those, and, slowly learned. And then over the years, I got better and better. And, the money will come, but it's, you can't expect people to invest large amounts of money in you if you've never done it before. They kind of want to see, like, what have you done, to prove that you at least have the ability to get something done. So when they see that, oh yeah, I've made 10 short films, and it's like, okay, like he's proven himself a little bit, so we can give him some money, and you kind of just take it from there.
That's cool. You kind of put yourself through your own unique film school.
Yeah.
As far as film school goes, did you ever pursue any formal education in this, or was it just a matter of doing it and learning it?
I did. I took a program called Radio and Television Production at a technical institute in Edmonton here called NAIT, the Northern Alberta Institute of Technology. Back when I went, they didn't have a film course, so that was the closest I had is TV. And first year you learn radio and TV, and then after that you kind of branch off and you pick one or the other. So I took television. Part of that was making a short film. But we learned how to use video cameras, and we learned editing, and some of it was somewhat useful, but the vast majority of what I know now is just from doing it a lot. I think there's no better way to do it. And even now I talk to like screenwriting students, and it's funny because some of them will like critique my stuff or something, and it's like, well, you're like a 19-year-old that just graduate, or in screenwriting school, and it's like I've actually been selling scripts and getting them made. So it's kind of like, I don't know, I can't say they're wrong because of what their teacher told them, but a lot of it, it's like what you find in the real world is not what you'll learn in school. So it's like I found the best things that work for me, and some of them are not the traditional way to do it. They're not the way you're taught to do it. And it's like, yeah, but I've never had a producer unwilling to pay me for something because I do things my way. So it seems to be working for me, so I'm going to kind of stick to that. But I mean, traditional education could have some benefit, I'm pretty sure, but you're really going to learn the most just doing it out in the real world.
It makes a lot of sense when it comes to the arts. I'm sure there is like when you write a screenplay, for example, there is a set style people like to see a screenplay in for various reasons, but you don't have to use this one piece of software or write it the same way everyone else does.
Yeah, exactly. There's general rules, like, it should be properly formatted, but there's a lot of things that you're supposed to do that I'm like, I don't like doing it that way. I'm going to kind of do it my way, or I just find little ways that I think are more efficient to do it. And no one's ever called me out on it other than, screenwriting students or something. But for the most part, like a producer, when they read the script, they're not going to be like, this is great, I can make big money at this. Unfortunately, this thing is formatted slightly differently, so we're not going to buy it. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's not going to work like that, right?
A lot of potential here. If only you use the description field better.
Yeah. So it's things like that I'm, I generally follow the rules, and there's also too is that if everyone is doing it one way, it's almost like it's kind of working against you. Like as soon as you do something a bit fresh and different, it's like you're going to get noticed. No one's going to be like, wow, this person followed the rules exactly. We should hire them. It's like, everyone does that. It's like someone could be like, hey, look at this script. Like he did this way differently. This is something to be noticed. So that's the way I kind of see it, is like, if you're just trying to be as perfect as possible, this is not the medium for that. Maybe in architecture or something like that, you got to be, exactly specific, but this is a creative art and stuff. And so if you try to take some liberties and stuff, it can, really help out and make you stand out from the crowd.
That's a really good point too, because we talked a few minutes ago about now is the time for creatives because there's so many avenues. But that's also a double-edged sword, because now is the time for all the creatives, and there's probably more people writing down whatever and trying to produce things more than ever.
Yeah, it's one of those things too. In a way, it's better because 100 years ago, only the wealthiest and really had a chance. You couldn't just be a filmmaker because you wanted to be. So it was kind of unfair that you had those barriers. Whereas now it's opened up to virtually anyone. The downside is that it's open to virtually everyone. So now it's like you don't even have to have talent. You can film whatever you want, put it on YouTube, and and even now when I upload one of my short films, it's like, well, it doesn't matter how good it is. I'm up against billions of other videos, and it's like, how do you get yourself noticed? It's so difficult. And even when I submit a script to a producer, like a lot of producers, they'll announce that they're looking for a horror film or a thriller film or a romantic comedy or whatever. And if I have one of those, I'll submit it to them. And it's part of it is I'm up against a lot of other good writers, but a lot of it is I'm up against just a vast like number of other writers, and most of them, not to be cruel, but are probably not very good. So when this producer gets my script, it's among 1,200 others, and there's a chance that they might not even get to mine, just because of the sheer volume.
That day they give you one page and they move on.
Yeah, and I've had that too, where they'll be like, okay, yeah, we got 2,000 scripts and we narrowed it down to 200, and you're one of those 200, and so it's like, okay, and it's like, hey, we narrowed it down to 50, and you're one of those 50, and then I end up, they pick someone else, and so yeah, you're always just up against a whole lot of people, and I get it that people get excited about their script or their project, and they think it's the best thing ever, but they don't realize that there's millions of other people that think the exact same thing about their own project. So when you send it to someone, doesn't mean they're going to be interested in it, because there's just such a huge, overwhelming volume of like material out there. So it's just something to keep in mind, and it gets discouraging because when I started, I would pitch my scripts nonstop and just get no replies. Like I wouldn't even get rejections. I would just get ignored. I kind of had to work my way up to the point where I was getting rejections, where they take the time to say something and tell me no.
Right.
And then, after that, then I kept plugging away, and then I'd get one, I'd sell like one script. And then, of course, when that was made, I would just make a big deal out of it. I would, announce it on Facebook and put it on my resume. And then when I'd pitch the next script, I would tell them, my short film, Granny, was recently produced in Denver. And it doesn't matter if the movie was any good or not, because they're probably not going to watch it. But they would see that somebody else took a chance on me. So all of a sudden, then that opened up the door, and all of a sudden I started getting more and more. And then I would pitch that on my latest script, I would say, I've had 5 short films produced recently in Canada, the US, and England, and India. And then that makes me sound even better. And then I would kind of keep going like that. Whereas now I got, 50-some credits on IMDB, and I've sold many, many more scripts. So I don't need to give a number, but I can just list kind of my best, biggest projects. So just like any little kind of success I have, I turn that into a bigger success and a bigger success. And just, it sounds cheesy, but just having a positive attitude really works. If you just sound like you're excited about stuff, you're just an easygoing person, and you're fun to work with, that's going to open up so many doors. Like even when I pitch, when I send pitches to producers, I'm pretty much professional, but I never do it exactly professional. I put a lot of exclamation marks and emojis in there and stuff that you're told not to do. But ever since I started doing that, it's exploded with the number of people that responded, just because they probably read like 100 boring emails a day, whereas mine's just kind of short, succinct, and fun. And just I just have like an excited attitude, and people want to work with someone like that. So as soon as I started doing that, it just kind of the floodgates opened, and I have a lot more people wanted to work with me.
To get a good insider tip for anyone listening, show your personality a bit.
Yeah.
Did you find that like say you got that first one produced, so then you could say to these people as you're submitting scripts, just had such and such short film produced. You wouldn't say this was my first one, I finally did it, but just had this produced at this place, it did that. Was that momentum like tenfold? Like every time that happened, it wasn't like it was not a step, it was a leap.
Oh yeah, like each one, it's like exponential. And now I can just sometimes I include my IMDb link. Sometimes I don't because I know they'll probably just Google me and see everything I've done, and that's kind of even better. That they're like, oh wow, this guy's actually had a bunch of stuff made, and as soon as that happens, it's almost like they go into reading your script prepared to like it. Because a lot of like I read some other scripts, and a lot of them, the first time scripts, they're just really not very good. So if someone's seen that, wow, you've had a lot of stuff made, they're going to go into it thinking there must be something about this person for them to have sold this many scripts. So they're just kind of more likely to give you a chance, which gives you more chances, which it kind of just feeds this whole momentum thing that can't be stopped. And now I'm noticing even now I've been at it a few years, but even just in the last few months, it's gone like even bigger. I'm getting even more offers now. So I can't even imagine where I'll be in like 5 years. But it just like it's slow to start, and a lot of people probably get discouraged and just give up because this is going to be a whole lot of no's. And even the first bunch I had made, I didn't even get paid for. I just had to give them away just so I could get a short film made, so that I could say that I've had a short film made. And then after a while, I would start charging a bit of money for it, and then I start charging more money for it, and then you got to the point where I couldn't keep up. Even now, like I get asked if I have short films, and it's like, well, I only got a few that haven't sold yet, because I just like, if I write one, it's kind of out the door like that day. And I'm also onto bigger and better things and features and stuff, so I don't have the time for that anymore. But it's also a matter of like, a lot of people, they do this massive $100 million fantasy script or something as their first one. And it's like, that's probably too much. It's going to be hard to get someone that invests that much money in something for an unproven writer. But if you just start writing a short film that has 1 to 3 actors in it, takes place in a house, you have a good chance of getting it made by someone, and then you can kind of just follow in the exact way I just lined out, and it's just get one made and then use that to promote yourself to get another one made, and then just kind of keep the whole thing going.
That's really, really cool and really insightful. And I'm sure a lot of people do want to be the next, Lord of the Rings or something, but that was decades in the making. So, like you're saying, why don't you walk before you run?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did look at your IMDb page, and it is extensive. So, for anyone who's just listening, look him up, because he's practicing what he preaches.
It's funny too. If you look, I have like one film from 2000, one from 2007, and then like 50 in the last like 4 years. So you can kind of just tell where the exact point where I started taking this seriously.
Yeah, 2018, 2019, you probably have 20 credits just, at a glance. That's awesome, though, because the proficiency is everything.
Yeah, some of those are ones that I, wrote and directed myself. Some of them are ones that other people directed. So yeah, I have different projects. Some of them I have no interest in doing myself, but I could sell to someone else, and some of them are like, this one's mine. No one's going to direct this except me.
So out of all the stuff you've written, shorts, features, you even have long runs of TV series on here, what's your favorite medium to work in, or does it vary based on the idea?
It varies based on the idea. If I had to pick, I would say just feature length films is kind of my favorite. But I like different projects for different things, and some of them, like a lot of my shorts, probably most of them, I would see as being a full length movie. It's hard to raise that kind of money, but I could do it as a short. I have a few trailers on there for films that hopefully will be made one day. Grotesque and Motel 13, and some of them are making good progress. It's just, it always comes down to money. But yeah, I like working in any medium, comic books. I wrote a novel, like anything that's just creative stuff I like, and I'll kind of pursue anything that's there in front of me.
Do you ever dabble back into comics?
Yeah, I'm still making comics. It's slowed down a lot just because the movie stuff kind of eats up most of the my budget and time. But
I'm
yeah, I got
sure.
some new comics hopefully coming out soon. Got one called The Nothing Man, which is it's like I call it a live action comic where we took like real pictures of actors acting it out and then arranged it into a comic book with word balloons. So it's like a comic but with real people instead of drawings. So that should hopefully be out sometime this year. It's been a long process getting it done. But yeah, and I got if you go to my website, thehigheruniverse.com, you can see a bunch of the comics I have out there, and they're available on Comixology and Amazon and other places like that. So I got quite a few things out there that I'd more than be happy to have your listeners read and give me feedback on.
Absolutely, yeah. We could do all the plugs again at the end too, but definitely get on that, everybody. So you want to talk about your most recent project, Hotbox?
Yeah, Hotbox is a long time in the making. We shot it in the winter of 2018. We had the premiere last April, so basically a year ago right now. And it was just my first kind of outing into dealing with distributors and all that, and just trying to figure out how to get it out into the world, which was a lot harder than we thought. We ran into a lot of just struggles because for one, for some reason, the marijuana related humor offended a lot more people than I was expecting.
Really?
And
That is
even
shocking.
now trying to promote it, I'm just running into a lot of, yeah, we can't share that. It's like, are you kidding me? Like, you can have movies with murder and all this other stuff, and you can't, show people smoking a joint. Like, seems kind of odd. And we even tried the distributor, or like the guy Steve Kenny in Ireland, who was he kind of hooked us up with a distributor, and he tried to do some paid Facebook advertising for it, and they wouldn't allow it to be advertised because it promoted an illegal substance. And he tried to like protest. I can't remember what the word is, but yeah, he tried to like he tried to appeal that decision, and they blocked him from Facebook for 3 days as like a punishment. I was like, are you
Wow.
freaking kidding me? Um,
I never would have guessed the stoner comedy's been a staple in comedy since like the late 90s.
yeah,
Probably
even before. I
even
mean, even
back
like
before
Cheech and
that.
Chong is like 70s. I mean, it's
Yeah.
like so I don't because the movie itself there's nothing bad in it. There's some swearing, but there's no it's still like a lighthearted funny movie. There's no killing or anything like that. And so I just find that mind-boggling, but in a way it might work in our favor. It's kind of like an underdog type story, right? It's like the movie that they don't want you to see, right? And as soon as people are trying to start silencing something, it kind of you know brings interest in it. Like, I got to watch this. And I think most people will watch it and be like, it's like, why is that banned? Like, it's so not deserving of it. Um, but yeah, we also had problems with the fact that it's an indie stoner comedy with no big names in it. A lot of distributors, they watched it and they're like, yeah, it's funny, like it's good. It's just there's no famous people in it, so it's going to be a hard sell. Um, so luckily, we found people willing to take a chance on us, and so it's out there now on Amazon Prime, and we're getting a very good reaction to it. Yeah, a lot of just emails and messages I'm getting of people that just love it, and lots of good lines in there that they like quoting and everything. So I'm happy that people liked it because it was a wonderful experience to shoot. We shot it in 11 days, extremely low budget. And everyone just really came together. We shot in this giant house, this like mansion that we rented from the city, and it had no furniture in it. And of course, we needed to look like it was like a normal house. So the cast and crew kind of got together and donated their furniture so we could furnish this house. So we drove around in a truck, picking up furniture and putting in the house that we brought it back later. And we had a guy, Steve Sang, who's a casting director in my area in Edmonton, and he loaned us this car that's like 1970s station wagon to be the car that's used in the movie. So that was really kind of him. So people kind of just came out of the woodwork to help get this made, and we were able to make it on such a low budget movie that we probably wouldn't have been able to do, had we been in LA or something. So yeah, it turned out great, and just the reaction I got to it was amazing. My part of my worry, especially doing comedy, is that we'd sit there in the theater and watch it, and it'd be crickets, right? There's no one laughing. That was like my ultimate fear.
Of
So it
course.
was such a relief that everyone was just laughing nonstop, and people liked it. So it turned out a lot better than I thought it was going to, and I'm very happy about that.
That's awesome. And you said it was a long time coming, but then you had mentioned to me in our like the first email exchange we had that this actually ended up coinciding with the legalization of pot in Canada. And you said it was
Yeah, it
kind of an
was.
accident.
Yeah, that was just kind of a fluke. Like I wasn't even thinking about that because we started pre-production quite a while before we shot. It just worked out that when we started filming, it was within like a week or so of when marijuana was legalized in Canada. So we used that as kind of like a promotional thing as we were doing it, just to kind of get more attention for us. But yeah, total coincidence.
Did that significantly like bolster the project anyway? Was it something like you were beating your head up against the wall and then all of a sudden the door came wide open for you?
I would think not. I mean, you can never really tell. It's just we did get quite a bit of attention, and even while we were filming, we didn't even have enough money to like finish the movie. So I was kind of under a lot of pressure of like, is this whole thing going to collapse? But even while we were shooting it and promoting it, people saw what was going on, and started donating money to us. So by the time we were done, it gotten such like a good reputation of and attention to it that we had enough money to finish it. So in that respect, whatever it was that made it happen, made it happen. But I can't say for sure if it was one thing or another.
Did the legalization force any last second rewrites? Like you're sitting there about to roll camera and you're like, oh, this doesn't work anymore. It's legal now.
No, I don't think so. We pretty much stuck to the story. Um, the only thing in the movie there was one storyline where a guy um, he hasn't smoked weed in months or a long time, and then he smokes a joint, and then right after he gets a text from his boss informing everyone that they have to do a piss test in the morning. So he's freaking out, and he spends the rest of the time at the party trying to get someone to pee in a cup for him so he can use their someone who's sober.
Right.
Um, that was the only storyline I was like, wait, is this going to work now? Because technically it's not illegal, but I guess it would still make sense because even if it was legal, you're still not allowed to do it on the job. So that was the only one where I questioned it a little bit, but for the most part, it didn't change much.
No, that's really cool that it all fell into place. And it's also cool that you managed to get it out there. I mean, I wish I knew that I could watch it on Amazon Prime just to fill in 2 seconds of backstory. You had sent me a link. I clicked on it. It didn't work. And I thought because you're in Canada, I'm in the US, but you did clear it up that it is available in the US. I just couldn't go in through the same link. So for anyone listening, it is available. Just make sure you're in your proper country.
Yeah, and that was actually quite surprising because the way I heard, normally it's released in the US and the UK first because those are like bigger markets. And then in Canada and other English speaking places are, they come later on if it's successful. So I've written other like movies that have been released and filmed in Canada, and people in Canada can't even watch their own movie because it's not available here. So when we first kind of got this deal and started doing this stuff with Amazon, we were under the impression that that was going to happen too, and they even told us that was going to happen. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, they changed it, and they're like, we decided to release it um, in all markets at the same time. So we're in like 60 different countries. A lot of them I never even heard of before. Um, and I was kind of surprised. Even other people were surprised too. And they're like, man, like, how did you get in all those places? And I was like, I don't know. They just decided to. So that's great that it actually is available in Canada or in the US. You just have to, just make sure you're in the, if you click on the Facebook link or whatever, it might take you to the wrong one. So just go to your Amazon Prime account and search for Hotbox, and you should be able to find it there.
Very cool. Yeah, that's huge that it's worked out. Now you got this movie and multinational. It's got to be kind of a surreal feeling, even though you've been doing this so long. It still has to be really cool to see it happen.
Yeah, it's great because I mean, like we did a premiere here last April, And it was nearly sold out. A lot of people there. It was so successful. We actually did a second screening a few weeks later just for people who missed it. But I've been just hounded by people every day, like, hey, when's Hotbox coming out? When's Hotbox coming out? Not only people that were involved in it, but also just people that came across it, wanted to watch. So it's great to finally be able to tell them it is available, and instead of always having to tell them, I don't know when, hopefully soon. It's like, no, it's out there, and we should be out on other platforms too. I think it's like Tubi, and it's a bunch of other ones that we should be out in the coming weeks. So if you happen to like those platforms, instead we'll be on those. But yeah, the main thing is it's out to the world, and I can finally promote it and get people's feedback and hear what people think of it, and then carry on with the next thing.
Very cool. Well, I think that's a good place to wrap it. If you want to tell everybody where they can find you again, like your website, your social media handles.
Yeah, I'm on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, just under my name, Brandon Rhiness. Higher Universe is my company for comics and movies. So if you look that up on YouTube, you can see all my short films and all that stuff, and the website and the comic books. So yeah, be sure to reach out, and I like hearing from people, and I wish everyone the best of luck.
Very cool. Well, Brandon, thanks again for taking the time to sit down with us, and best of luck in the future. I'm sure you have 15 different irons in the fire right now.
I sure do.
Great. Thanks again.
Thanks a lot.
Just wanted to thank Brandon one more time for coming on the show. It was a really great interview. Make sure you check out his movie Hotbox on Amazon Prime. Check out his IMDb. He's got a lot of projects out there. Hit him up on social media. Visit his website. Really cool guy. Thanks for listening.